What are you driving now? Who's in it? Mom,
She got mad.
Hold that on your phone.
My head doesn't ever go out. I like lean back.
is it fast?
No.
It takes one to go one.
Is it what? Has it got good music?
Mom hates me.
No music.
He has that picture of it again.
But the speakers.
To AFB.
The two
He's like, ooh, wrong number.
The speakers in the very back. I had been trying to bang all the way down to like negative
He's like,
7.
I was trying to be
Or it sounded decent.
DHS. But it's actually to American States videos.
Big long. Oh, here we go.
Ah.
Alright, we got x cubed minus 4x squared minus 5x. The directions say to factor completely. This will be an easy lesson because most of the stuff we've already been doing when we solved quadratics a couple of weeks ago. Remember, one of the methods that we could use was factoring. We had quadratic formula, complete square, factoring, so we've already done a little bit of it. There's, as we're focusing only on factoring today, though, not solving, just factoring. Anytime you're told to factor, the first thing to check for is a GCF, a greatest common factor, something that all the terms have in common. Do all of these have something in common? An x. Good, Chrislyn. All of them have an x in common, right? So to factor that, we're going to put an x and divide all of those terms by x. Okay, so if this was an x cubed and I divided it by x, what will be in that spot? X squared. This was a negative 4x squared and I divided it by x, what will be in that spot?
2x.
No,
Negative
just
2x.
negative 4.
What?
Yeah.
You don't
Right?
divide the.
Got you. Told you so.
Well, it's like a 1, so if you're worried about the 4, 4 divided by 1 stays 4, right? Okay, now I had a negative 5x and I
Negative
divided
5.
it by x, so it's just a negative 5.
So, yeah.
Okay, now, simmer down. You may or may not be done there. Okay, we took the GCF out, but this trinomial might still can factor farther. How did we check to see if a trinomial can factor?
Plug in number.
Nope.
Yeah, you're wrong, buddy. Sorry, but you're not the teacher.
A times C. Remember doing that? So we say 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. Are there any factors of negative 5 that add to my B? About negative 5 and 1. Right? Sure, pay attention. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4, right? Since this is a 1x squared here, it's easy to do. I just write those as factors. X minus 5 times x plus 1. Don't forget about the original GCF we took out. Bring that down to be part of your answer. Can you factor that any farther? Once you get it into binomials like that, that's as far as you can factor.
So, what's 600 forever? Like,
Factoring here. Factoring.
Use hashtag
You spilled me?
He deleted the
He leaked on you? That's disgusting.
Alright, got what we need on that one?
Bro, hey.
This one says 3y to the 5th minus 48y cubed. Directions say factors. Shh, guys. First question is, do I have a GCF?
Wow.
Something more than y.
48. No, it's
48 won't go into 3.
it's
2.
Okay, y to the 3rd is going to be my y, but there's also a number that will go into both of them.
It's not 72.
Yeah, you're so wrong, Connor.
It's 3.
Dalton
I
has it.
said that
So
earlier,
I'll
just
take a
72.
3y cubed is going to be the GCF. Okay? Everybody all right on that? That's the hardest part, is finding that. That wasn't too terrible. Okay, so now we're going to divide both of those by 3y cubed. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. Landon, pay attention. Good. Y to the 5th divided by y cubed is y squared. Minus 48 divided by 3. 16. And y cubed divided by y cubed is just 1. Alright, this one can go farther. That thing that's I've got in the parentheses there, y squared minus 16, that has a special name. Remember what kind of factoring it's called? That y squared minus 16? Y squared's a perfect square, 16's a perfect square, and I've got a subtraction sign. It's called difference of squares. So all we do here is square root both of these like Dalton was talking about. One parentheses gets an addition sign, one gets a subtraction sign. So I've got my 3y cubed,
3y cubed.
y plus 4, y minus 4. Okay, and note you're going to need to make difference of squares. If I had a squared minus b squared, that would be a plus b times a minus b. Just square root them. One gets a plus, one gets a minus. That's a note you need to make there that you're going to use a lot.
Is there any way you can do this in a calculator?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Do you have to get off the lunch menu or you can get anything? Do you have to get off the lunch menu or can you get anything?
You can get it. Who's paying for it?
I can't remember what. They've got a different menu since last time I've been. I can't remember what that thing was called. It's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, have you been to Local Lom? It's in Rural, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Because we were going to go to Yaya. Have you been to Yaya yet? Oh, it's in, what is that called? What is that little place called?
Yeah, they took us to a marina.
Why do you have to do that?
Promenade, yes. Maddie works at Yaya's. Maddie works at Yaya's, and we walk in there, we're like, we see the menu, and it's really spicy. We're like, okay, do you know where anywhere else to go that's not as spicy? And we went to Local Lom. Oh my gosh, I've never ate such good Mexican food.
Father, when I can find what it is, I usually get it.
Yeah, that was so hard.
You don't know your partner?
When there you go. Dummies, I'm dumb.
That's weak.
On a gurney.
Oh, Julie?
On a gurney. You know, there's like hot things that they couldn't handle. Not just carry it, we had to go over walls, we had to go through walls.
Go to the wall.
Just tell him, not even help him over.
Was it like an injured person gets together?
Look, think of it like this.
No,
You're not going to carry anyone.
yeah, we just were like that.
So
So
we
we
put air conditioners on the gurney.
Instead of Z's, can I just put an X?
Alright, yeah, you can put an X. I got 5z to the 4th, 5z to the 4th plus 30z cubed plus 45z squared. Alright, GCF, what's the greatest common factor?
or Z.
Five.
No,
Five.
My bad, square.
Z squared. Bless you. Look at that and get that in your brains. 5 is the biggest coefficient that will go evenly into all three of those. Z squared is the biggest Z that will go evenly into all three of those. Everybody okay on that? So I'm going to divide that whole thing by 5Z squared. Okay, what's 5Z to the 4th divided by 5Z squared?
X squared.
Z squared, good. What's 30Z cubed divided by 5Z squared? 6Z, good. What's 45Z squared divided by 5Z squared? 9.
7.
Right.
Idiot.
Right here is Z squared. Alright, Now, sometimes you'll be done there. We're not. That trinomial can factor farther, and this is what y'all had forgotten a second ago. You do your A times C. I need the factors of that add to my B. What factors of 9 add to 6?
3 and 3.
Good. So I'm going to have a Z plus 3 and a Z plus 3. Don't forget your 5Z squared. If you write that as your final answer, that's correct. What if I'm taking ACT and that's not a choice? How else could they have written that?
You distribute.
X.
Good, Molly, good. They
Good,
could have
Molly.
had 5Z squared times Z plus 3 squared.
That's what I was gonna say.
Good. I like this one better. It makes me look smarter.
Yeah, it does.
Try to trick people sometimes. They
Bro,
think you're smarter than you really are.
I didn't get on that.
But then some of y'all open your mouth and it's not
I didn't get on that.
He gleek.
Gleeker. He gleeker.
It's gleek. It's gleek. It's gleek.
Alright, new kind of factoring that we haven't done yet this year. I got 2 patterns to write down. We wrote a difference of squares patterns a second ago. Now we're going to write a sum of cubes pattern and a difference of cubes pattern. When we did factoring before, we did not use these. So this is going to be new for some of us. If I have a perfect cube plus a perfect cube, it factors as the cube roots of those. Okay, there's my sum of cubes. Difference of cubes. Y'all be quiet and be writing.
We have to write that.
Cob of corn.
What?
I don't know about you though.
Please excuse the interruption. Any teachers or staff that would like to get a flu shot that missed it last week, please come to the nurse's office now. If you would like to get your flu shot, teachers and staff, you may come to the nurse's office now. Thank you.
You got one more shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got that at Kroger's.
Why'd you pay for it?
I did. My insurance paid for it.
Nuh-uh.
I think they give you the flu. Like I get sick every time I get one.
Oh,
It
yeah.
gives you the.
Well, I know, but like some people
It's a
don't.
dead virus though.
Yeah, but some people don't get like sick. I get like a flu.
No, it's in
Like,
The blood.
Your immune system is weak.
Yeah, get that down and then we'll learn how to use it. Let's go.
that gummit boy.
Yeah, boy.
Just because he's sick, he thinks it's the blood.
Connor thinks the same thing.
Yeah, Connor said I got flu. Bro,
My dad's a doctor.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Be quiet.
Connor's a dog.
The doctor at Haskell. The doctor.
Oh, he works at the city. Doctor at Haskell. Is there a doctor's office in Haskell at all?
Doctor in Haskell, America. Hey, Connor. Now we'll learn already water up. Connor, come on, bro. Connor.
Your dad. Make something sick.
Connor, give me I won't drink it all, bro. I'm just ready
So
to
you die,
I won't
just you.
He died. Don't do it, Connor. Don't fall for that.
off the way. Let me get a drink.
You just bleed it on yourself.
Oh.
Lucky you think I'll hit you with a spit. No. Get right there.
Just
Why don't you just
That's
believe
the
it?
last one. I can't believe it.
He said something.
do that to me. I'm just gonna leave you
Connor.
alone. I didn't know trash can.
Now you're gonna bleed freaking coffee.
That's
So
not.
we are
Why do you snoop that all the way down?
Because I like to leave.
I like to lick them too, but I don't like to lick
Everybody
them
got
like
it?
that.
Yes, ma'am. Connor, you didn't do it.
I did it.
Connor, write it down, bro.
It's a handstand.
Yeah, I didn't say it.
That sucks.
This sucks too.
You video
Okay, so here we've got x cubed minus 125, and we're told to factor. My clue that you're going to have to look for when you're doing this on your own, that it's a sum or a difference of cubes. Number one is your first term's a perfect cube. Number two, there's only two terms. So when you only have two terms, there's not a GCF because they both don't have an x. So there's nothing you can do there. So we look and we say, well, x cubed, check. That's a perfect cube. What about 125? Does something times itself 3 times equal 125? If you're not sure to do a cube root on your calculator, hit math. You're wrong. Hit math.
You're wrong.
Scroll it down till you see the one that says cube root that has a little 3 in the root.
45.
Pick that. Type 125 and it'll tell you what the cube root of 125 is. Stephen is correct. Don't go down one more. He did a cube. You want to do cube root. You Molly. Clear that off, yeah. Hit math. Go down to number 4.
It's 5.
It's 5.
So what I know here, when I'm comparing this, they're both perfect cubes. We just figured that out, Lena. So if I'm comparing this to the formula, you'll be quiet. I'm comparing this to the formula we wrote down. Cube root of x cubed is x. So everywhere there's an a, I'm going to put an x. Cube root of 125 is 5. So everywhere there's a b, I'm going to have a 5. Right? This is right off the formula that you just copied down. So to start this off, difference, because it's a minus sign, so you're looking at the one where you wrote difference of cubes. It says a minus b. That's your first parentheses, right? Okay? Then in the second parentheses it says to take your a and square it. Plus multiply your a and b. Plus take your b and square it. That's it.
Oh, you don't have to actually.
No, and that's...
Oh, okay. Plus, if you were the first time, just x times 5 and like 5 squared, and then you have to.
Okay, check this out. When you're doing sum or difference of cubes, you'll have this trinomial here, and people will always think that that can factor farther because it kind of looks like it can. But if I tried a times c factors of 25 that add to 5, there aren't any. So that will be as far as you go when it's sum or difference of cubes. You got that pattern written down that I told you to that half of y'all chose not to. It's easy. You just plug the stuff in.
I wrote that down.
I wrote that down.
I wrote that down.
Alright, let's look at one more of those. Everybody got what we need on that one? Alright, this one says 16 x to the 5th plus 54 x squared.
True.
Alright, 5th, you look at that 5th, that's not a perfect cube, so you know we're not there. We may be in a minute though.
Yeah.
Is there a GCF in this thing? X squared is 1. What else is 1?
16.
8. No.
It's not 46. Is it not 8?
I don't think 8 goes into 54.
2 goes in both of them.
4.
No, 4 doesn't go into 54.
What about 4? Did that work?
4 doesn't go into 54.
Sure. Maybe it is 12.
It is 2. I'm pretty sure it's 2.
Okay, so
No. Yeah.
2x.
I thought I had some.
2x squared. We agree on that? So we're going to divide by 2x squared. 16 divided by 2 is 8. X to the 5th divided by x squared is x cubed. 54 divided by 2 is 27. And x squared divided by x squared is gone. Alright. Is that binomial a sum, because it's plus sign, a sum of cubes? I know x cubed is a perfect square. What about 8? Is 8 a perfect cube?
Yes.
2 times 2 times 2, right? So I know my A is going to be 2x. What about 27?
Yes.
What?
3.
3 times 3 times 3. Okay, this is a plus sign, so make sure you're looking at your sum of cubes pattern. It says you start off
2x.
with A plus B in the first parentheses.
And then
Second parentheses, you take your A and
2x
square it.
squared.
So you got to square both of these pieces. So that'll be 4x squared minus A times B. 2x times 3, 6x, plus B squared. That's as far as I can go with that, but I need to add one more piece to my answer.
The 2x squared.
Gotta bring this down, don't I? What factors, Stephen?
Well, never,
of
I
thir-
saw that.
Okay,
I
never
thought
mind.
there was an X.
That's it.
Oh, 4x?
Yeah. Because you have to square the 2 and the x when you do A squared.
So it's just 4x.
Or squared.
there's Jack.
Yeah, or squared.
Oh, 'cause you have to square the X and the numbers, so.
Try this one again.
Alright, we looked before at factoring by grouping. So that's what we're fixing to do now. Alright.
That's illegal.
I got z cubed plus 5z squared minus 4z minus 20. What is different here is we've got 4 terms. We haven't done any that had 4 terms yet. My first question is, do all 4 terms have something in common?
I think so. Yes. I think they do.
20 won't go into 4 or 5 or 1.
They go into 20 though.
Yeah.
I want that.
20
Okay.
will go into a 4.
20 will not go into 4 evenly. 4 will go into 20.
Yes.
20 will not go into
40.
4.
Oh.
40 won't go into any of those evenly.
They all go into 40.
Yeah, but they don't.
So,
They do all go into 40. You're correct, but that's not something you can't take a 40 out of them.
It is.
All right, stop guessing nonsense. 1 is the only thing that will go evenly into all of them. If that 20 would have had a z, we could have taken a z out of all of them, right? But the 20 doesn't have a z. So they do not have anything in common. 1 is the only thing that will go evenly into them. The numbers that the guys were saying over here that were bigger, those are multiples. We're looking for the smaller numbers. We're looking for the factors. Okay, so they won't go. Nothing will go evenly into all of it. When we did this earlier in the year, when we had 4 terms, if we could not find anything to go evenly into all of them, we grouped them 2 by 2, just like we're going in the arc, and then tried to find like GCFs there. So you're going to throw your parentheses on that. All right, now, this new group I made, is there a GCF in it? Z squared. Good, Stephen. So I'm taking a z squared out of that first parentheses. I take a z squared out of that. Z cubed divided by z squared. 5z squared divided by z squared. There you go. Now, I need to be able to take something out of this second group that the result is also a z plus 5. So what do they have in common here that I can take out?
Take out -4.
-4. Very good. So, -4z divided by -4, z. -20 divided by -4, 5. We've done this before. It's just been a while. To write our answer now, we take what we have twice times what we took out. Now, notice I'm not circling that yet. Z squared minus 4 can factor farther. We wrote down a special pattern earlier for Z squared minus 4. What's it called? Attaboy, Dalton, it's difference of squares. Because this one's a perfect square, this one's a perfect square, it's a minus sign. So I'm going to keep my Z plus 5. Square root of Z squared, square root of 4. One gets a plus, one gets a minus. That's it.
That's gonna be a lot to remember on this.
Yes, it will.
You guys sure not care where you cheat on this.
I'm sorry, dude.
She told. Let me try
Well,
one.
now he wants to stretch it.
Me?
You ready?
Alright, some you're trying on your own right now.
Wait. What was the last one?
Just a plain number.
What was the last box?
Oh, man. I made those pretty good. I like the sausage.
No, those. I like the whole other one. We just have notes there.
I can see what
I don't think it is.
the Rocket Lay's chips.
We're not talking about Lay's.
Like some.
Lay's makes sense.
Alright, I got 3 I want you to try on your own. Number 1 says x cubed minus 2x squared minus 24x. Number 2 says 4k to the 5th minus 100k squared. Number 3 says y cubed minus 5y squared plus 6y minus 30. Go.
The first one?
All 3.
I bet I will.
First one is 2x. Isn't it? Isn't it? Oh. 2x. 2x down.
That's you just said.
2x
I think we deal with this one. I only lost it once.
There's no way getting there.
I've never lost it.
There's no way.
Wait, you're supposed to be factoring those 3 problems.
I know. I'm looking at it.
Some of money. Yeah.
Really don't know.
We're awful.
I did that.
Wait. Yeah, but you can go. No, dude, it's X. And then
I do a ball.
Great.
Driving tomorrow?
X squared minus.
When do you drive, Tom?
December 24th.
When you gonna drive?
Oh, it's a negative, that's a negative. Yeah, I do.
His number 50.
That's probably wrong.
I don't know if you need one of the factors.
Did that?
How fast you going?
Hit it from below that.
It turns off.
Yeah, 80.
It
Oh,
turns
yeah.
off at 80.
I forgot we had to do that crap. Where you add.
You can see smoke going out of
Come
it.
on, Connor.
Why don't you do your work?
Huh?
He said,
Whoa.
Negative 4 plus 6.
How's that go?
But that doesn't equal negative 3 quarters. Oh, yeah, it does.
I can't say that.
Negative 6
Might be
plus 4
like a
is
four, right?
negative
We won't go past
That's
it.
what it is. What?
And that is far. Sugar.
So when you get it done?
No, that's just.
What's it doing outside?
When you get here?
Okay.
You always look like you get right.
Get it right, Tony.
I had already been there.
Greatest common factors. Got any trading?
Huh? What are tables?
Trade
Food.
All right, on number 1, what was your greatest common factor, Jody?
2x.
When I divide everything by that, I would have an x squared minus 2x minus 24. Sometimes you're done, sometimes you're not. You got to check and see if that can go farther. A times c is negative 24. Are there any factors in negative 24 that add to negative 2?
Yes.
Negative 6 and 4. So I'm going to have my x minus 6, and x plus 4. How could I check that if I wasn't sure?
Could you plug it? No, I said that already and it was wrong.
What would we do to check that if we weren't sure and we did it last week?
What is it?
I don't know.
What does it mean when you have things right next to each other? What operation is that?
Multiply.
So you could FOIL these two and then distribute an x to it, and it would get you this. So you could just work backwards and multiply them to check them if you needed to. Okay? All right, number 2. What's the GCF on it, Stephen? 4k cubed is correct. So we're going to divide both of those by 4k cubed. 4k to the 5th divided by 4k cubed leaves us k squared. Negative 100 divided by 4 is negative 25, and k cubed is out. Don't stop there. What's this parentheses called? What's its special name? We've used it twice today and written it down.
Is it the square thing?
Difference of squares. Perfect square minus sign, difference of squares. So I've got the 4k cubed, square root of k squared, square root of 25. One gets a plus, one gets a minus. That's it. Whoa, that was cool. Can we do it again? Try.
John runs his computers there all the time.
Well, that was
You know what I'm talking about? Virtual architect.
All right, on the last one. Is there a GCF in all 4 of those terms?
Yes. It is 1.
Other than 1, you're right. Other than 1, is there a GCF? No, so if there's nothing other than 1 and there's 4 terms, we're going to group them. Okay, so we're going to put our 2 parentheses in those. Now in my first group, y cubed minus 5y squared. What's your GCF? Y squared. So I take that out, leaves me with y minus 5. What can I take out of the second group, the 6y minus 30?
5.
Guess again, 6. Good, Jody. So I'm going to take a 6 out. That leaves me with y minus 5. Okay, so what I have twice times what I took out. Can't either one of those go any farther. This one you know can't because their first power's there. What about this one? No, I mean that's just a 6, doesn't have a perfect square. And anyway, there's no such thing as a sum of squares. So no, can't go any farther. That's it.
This stuff isn't half bad.
It's not half bad.
That's your corner. When it comes out, we do a worksheet, but can you do this one?
My locker.
Okay, hold you true.
I think I got a refrigerator in my background.
I will ice pack.
Just for you.
Alright, this one you're going to answer in your classroom for your exit question. Your hint is it's a sum of cubes. Okay, there'll be an exit question up here for you in just a second. That's sum of cubes.
Me too. That's what Holly just said she would annoy everybody with. I probably do.
Let's probably do that song, right?
But try, did I say what my walk-up song is going to be for softball?
What?
The Purge Siren.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. It's going to sound so sweet. What if some redneck's going to pull out her gun?
All teams together. What do you want?
Alright, question just showed up in mine. So give it a second, refresh if you need a spot.
We have 3
I don't know.
Gabriel?